Axel Donovan gripped the heavy bag, his knuckles white against the worn leather. The rhythmic thuds of fists hitting canvas echoed through Nova Security's training room. Each impact carried the weight of memories he'd rather forget. His father's drunken rage, his mother's empty bedroom, years of learning to survive alone. "Hey, boss." Bryce, one of his newer instructors, called from the doorway. "That new guy's here for the advanced combat course evaluation." Axel released the bag, unwrapping the tape from his hands. "Send him in." The man who walked through the door carried himself like a fighter, balanced, aware, ready. His easy smile contrasted with the calculating look in his eyes as he scanned the room. "Tristan Mills." He introduced himself, extending his hand. "Heard good things about your program." Axel's grip was firm, professional. "Let's see if you live up to your reputation. Word is you're undefeated in the underground circuit." Tristan's grin widened. 15-0, but there's always more to learn. They circled each other on the mats, testing defenses. Tristan's style was unconventional, explosive bursts mixed with fluid movement. Axel caught a wild hook, countered with a sweep that should have dropped his opponent. Instead, Tristan rolled with the momentum, transitioning into a lightning-fast combination that forced Axel to step back. "Not bad," Axel admitted, resetting his stance. "Where do you train?" "Life," Tristan answered, moving in again. "Started in juvie, refined it on the streets, added some formal training later." They continued sparring, the intensity building, neither man giving ground, each reading the other's patterns, adapting. By the time they finished, both were breathing hard, sporting the beginnings of bruises and grinning like teenagers. "You're hired," Axel said, tossing Tristan a towel. "Not just for the course. I want you teaching here. Your street experience combined with our tactical training could be valuable." Tristan's face lit up. "Seriously? Man, that would be perfect. Been looking for something more stable than just fighting." Over the next few months, their friendship grew beyond the gym. Late-night conversations over beers revealed shared experiences, broken homes, fighting to prove their worth, searching for something real to hold on to. "You should meet Sabrina," Tristan said one night, scrolling through his phone. "My best friend since forever. She's a photographer now. Does these amazing shots of fighters. Been trying to convince her to document some of our training sessions." The phone screen showed a striking black and white image. A fighter mid-punch, muscles coiled, determination etched on his face. The composition captured both power and vulnerability. "She sees things differently," Tristan continued, his voice softening. "Known her ever since we were kids. Got each other through some rough times. Her parents' divorce hit her hard, but she turned that pain into art. Meanwhile, she helped me cope when Mom got sick. Small-town folks talked. You know how it is, but we didn't care." Axel studied another photo, this one showing a fighter after defeat, head bowed, hand still wrapped, telling a story of pride and loss. "She's got talent," Axel said. "Coming to shoot at the Labyrinth next week. You should stop by." The Labyrinth was housed in an abandoned warehouse, the kind of place that appeared empty from the outside, but throbbed with energy within. Axel arrived early, watching the crowd filter in. Fighters, trainers, the regular mix of excitement seekers and betting men. He spotted her immediately. Sabrina Hayes moved through the crowd like she was dancing, camera in hand, finding angles most people would miss. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She wore combat boots with her dress, practical but stylish, ready to move wherever the shot took her. Tristan made the introductions between matches. "Axel, meet the artist. Sabrina, meet the guy who finally kicked my butt in training." Someone had to. Sabrina laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Tristan's ego was getting dangerous. She turned to Axel. "Mind if I get some shots of your fighters tonight? I'm working on a series about the psychology of combat." "Only if I get to see the results," Axel replied. Sabrina's camera clicked, catching him mid-sentence. Deal. The night unfolded in a blur of fights and conversations. Axel found himself watching Sabrina work as much as the matches. She moved with confidence, getting close to the action but never in the way, capturing moments others missed. The tension before a bell, the respect between opponents after a hard round, the quiet focus in the corners. She's something else, isn't she? Tristan appeared beside him, voice full of affection. Always knew she'd do something special with her life. Axel nodded, unable to take his eyes off her. How long have you known each other? Since we were 8. Her family moved in next door. She caught me crying in the backyard after a bad day with my old man. Instead of making fun of me, she showed me her secret hideout in the woods. We've been inseparable ever since. Between matches, Sabrina joined them, showing shots on her camera's display. Her passion was contagious as she explained what she saw in each image. Axel found himself drawn into her perspective, seeing the beauty in moments he previously viewed only tactically. Want to grab coffee sometime? Axel asked as the night wound down. I'd love to hear more about your project. Sabrina's smile lit up her face. Coffee sounds perfect. But I warn you, I take my art very seriously. Their first date stretched from coffee into dinner, then a midnight motorcycle ride along empty roads. Sabrina wrapped her arms around his waist, her laughter carrying on the wind as they leaned into curves. They stopped at a viewpoint overlooking the city lights. Sabrina pulled out her camera, capturing the urban constellations below. I love how cities look at night, she said, lowering the camera. All those lights telling different stories. Makes me wonder about the lives happening in each one. Axel watched her, fascinated by how she saw the world. What's your story? Still writing it, she replied, meeting his gaze. Small-town girl who didn't fit in, using her camera to make sense of the world. Running from some things, chasing others. You? Learning to trust again, he said quietly. Building something meaningful out of a rough start. She touched his arm gently. Tristan told me some of it. About your dad, the foster homes. Tristan talks too much. He cares about you. Says you're one of the good ones. Their next date was at her studio, a converted industrial space filled with prints and equipment. Sabrina showed him her current projects, including a series on fighters' hands. Look at these, she said, pointing to a print. The wraps, the scars, the way they hold themselves even at rest. Hands tell stories better than faces sometimes. Axel examined the image. You see beauty in the damage. I see beauty in survival, she corrected. In choosing to keep going, to make something of yourself despite the scars. Their relationship intensified quickly, both recognizing something in the other they've been searching for. Tristan celebrated their connection, often joining them for dinner or training. His presence was a comfortable addition to their dynamic. Through Sabrina, they met Jasmine and Derek Logan. Jasmine owned the gallery where Sabrina was planning her next show, her bold personality matching her artistic vision. Derek, a former boxer turned promoter, fit seamlessly into their fighting circle. You two are perfect together, Jasmine declared one night at dinner. The warrior and the artist, both seeing beauty in the fight. Derek raised his glass. To new friendships and good matches. Axel caught occasional moments, a look between Sabrina and Tristan that lasted a beat too long, a private joke he wasn't part of, but dismissed them as the natural closeness of old friends. He was learning to trust, to believe in the family he was building. The proposal happened after a particularly successful fight night. Axel had been training a young prospect who won decisively, and Sabrina captured the entire journey in her photographs. Marry me, he said as they reviewed the images in her studio. Be my partner in all of this. Sabrina's camera clattered to the table. What? I love you. I love how you see the world, how you've helped me see it differently. I want to build a life with you. She launched herself into his arms, tears streaming down her face. Yes. God, yes. The wedding was small but perfect. Tristan stood as best man, his speech moving everyone to tears as he talked about destiny and true love. I've known Sabrina most of my life, he said, voice thick with emotion. Watched her grow into this amazing woman. Axel, brother, you're the only man I trust with her heart. You two were meant to find each other. Axel embraced him after the speech. Thank you, man, for everything. Tristan hugged him back tightly. Just want you both to be happy. Their life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Axel's security business thrived, with Tristan helping to expand their training programs. Sabrina's photography career bloomed under Jasmine's guidance, her shows drawing increasing attention in the art world. The pregnancy test changed everything. We're having a baby, Sabrina whispered, showing him the positive result. We're going to be parents. Axel lifted her in his arms, spinning them around the kitchen. I love you so much. But as her belly grew, subtle changes crept in. Sabrina joined what she called an artistic meditation group that met late at night. Her phone gained new passwords. Her studio was suddenly off limits. It's just pregnancy hormones, she said when he asked about the changes. And you know how protective artists are about works in progress. Axel tried to understand, to give her space. But the doubts grew, feeding on small moments. Sabrina's disappearance during their anniversary dinner. The second phone he found hidden in her camera bag. The sound of her laugh from behind Tristan's closed apartment door. He was losing her, losing them both, and he didn't know why. The first crack in their perfect life appeared on a Tuesday evening. Axel returned early from a training session, hoping to surprise Sabrina with takeout from her favorite Thai place. The studio door was locked, unusual for that time of day. Sabrina. He knocked, balancing the food bags. Got dinner. Shuffling sounds came from inside, followed by whispered voices. When Sabrina finally opened the door, her cheeks were flushed, hair disheveled. You're early, she said, blocking the doorway. I'm in the middle of something. Thought we could eat together. Haven't seen much of you lately. Her hand rested protectively on her growing belly. Can we do it later? This project, it's complicated, needs my full attention. Behind her, Axel glimpsed covered canvases, papers hastily shoved into drawers. Not the usual organized chaos of her workspace. Sure, he said, forcing a smile. I'll leave it in the kitchen. That night, he woke to find her side of the bed empty. The clock read 2:47 a.m. He found her in the living room, typing rapidly on her phone. Can't sleep, he asked. Sabrina jumped, quickly locking the screen. Baby's active tonight. Didn't want to wake you. Who are you texting? Jasmine. She's in New York, different time zone. Axel nodded, not mentioning that he knew Jasmine was actually in town. He'd seen her at the gym that morning. The lies accumulated like dust, small but constant. Sabrina's meditation group now met 3 times a week, always at odd hours. She'd return home with a strange energy about her, simultaneously guilty and defiant. During a routine cleaning, Axel found a receipt for a hotel room in her jacket pocket. When confronted, Sabrina blamed pregnancy brain. Must have picked up someone else's receipt at the gallery, she said, not meeting his eyes. You know how scattered I've been lately. Tristan's behavior shifted too. The man who'd been like a brother grew distant, making excuses to avoid their training sessions. Other fighters reported seeing him at gyms across town, training intensely despite his claim of injury. One afternoon, Axel stopped by Tristan's apartment unannounced, wanting to clear the air. Sabrina's distinctive laugh drifted through the door. When Tristan answered, he was alone, slightly out of breath. Just watching old videos, Tristan explained, running a hand through his mussed hair. From back home. Reminiscing, you know. Jasmine's comments became increasingly strange. During a gallery opening, she cornered Axel by the wine table. Childhood bonds are powerful things, she said, swirling her glass. Some connections never really break, no matter what comes between them. What are you trying to say, Jasmine? She smiled enigmatically. Just that love takes many forms. Some we choose, some choose us. Later that night, Axel overheard her on the phone, discussing a special photo shoot with someone whose name wasn't mentioned. When she saw him listening, she quickly ended the call. Derek's behavior was perhaps the most telling. The usually boisterous promoter grew quiet around Axel, avoiding eye contact and making excuses to leave whenever he arrived. At a fight night, Derek drank heavily, his guilt seemingly weighing on him. "Axel, man, I need to tell you something. About Sabrina and..." Jasmine appeared suddenly, her hand gripping Derek's arm. "Honey, you're drunk. Let's get you home." The look she gave her husband could have frozen fire. Axel's security training kicked in. He began noting patterns. Sabrina's phone calls always came at specific times. Her meditation group meetings coincided with Tristan's new training schedule, and Jasmine's gallery was often locked during hours it should have been open. Their anniversary dinner became a turning point. Sabrina wore a new dress, black with silver threads that caught the light. They were halfway through the main course when her phone buzzed. "I have to take this," she said, already standing. "Gallery emergency." Axel waited 5 minutes, then followed. He found her in the parking lot, mascara streaking her cheeks as she spoke intensely into a phone he'd never seen before. "You can't do this now," she was saying. "We had a plan. I know it's hard. Just stick to the timeline." She saw him and quickly ended the call. "That was my mother," she said, wiping her eyes. "She's trying to reconnect." Axel said nothing about the second phone he found later in her camera bag, hidden beneath spare batteries and memory cards. He didn't mention the text messages he glimpsed, desperate words about love and patience and promises. The pregnancy progressed, their baby growing while their marriage crumbled. Sabrina's doctor ordered rest, but she seemed more active than ever, always rushing off to appointments Axel wasn't invited to attend. During a routine ultrasound, the technician asked about family medical history. Sabrina's answers about Tristan's family, detailed knowledge of conditions and traits, raised questions she quickly dismissed. "We grew up together," she explained. "Practically siblings. You learn these things." The technician's raised eyebrow said more than words could. One night, unable to sleep, Axel found Sabrina's journal in her studio. He stood for a long time, staring at it, fighting between respect for her privacy and the need to know. In the end, he left it unopened, clinging to the last threads of trust. Jasmine's gallery became a source of constant tension. Sabrina spent more time there than at home, claiming she was preparing for a major show. But when Axel visited during these supposed planning sessions, the gallery was dark, mail piling up outside. "She's probably at the secondary location," Jasmine said when he asked. "We're expanding, you know. Very exciting times." The secondary location, Axel discovered, didn't exist. Tristan's apartment became another mystery. Deliveries arrived. Art supplies, camera equipment, things Sabrina would use. When questioned, Tristan shrugged it off. "Just storing some stuff for her," he said. "Her studio's getting crowded with the baby coming." But Axel had been to her studio. It was emptier than ever, as if Sabrina was gradually moving her life elsewhere. The final month of pregnancy brought new complications. Sabrina's doctor prescribed bed rest, but she seemed more agitated than ever. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages she'd hide from Axel's view. "Just the mommy group," she'd say, sharing pregnancy stories. But Axel saw the names when notifications popped up. Tristan's messages coming under different aliases, Jasmine coordinating something called Operation Freedom. The night everything fell apart started normally enough. They were having dinner, or rather, Axel was eating while Sabrina texted under the table, when she suddenly doubled over, her phone clattering to the floor. "Axel." Sabrina's voice cracked with panic. "The baby. Something's wrong." He rushed to her side, helping her up. Her phone screen lit up with an incoming call from Gallery, Tristan's latest alias. "We need to get you to the hospital," Axel said, grabbing their pre-packed hospital bag. Sabrina clutched her belly with one hand, the phone with the other. Her fingers flew across the screen as Axel helped her to the car. The message thread caught his eye. "It's time," followed by a string of responses he couldn't quite read. The drive to the hospital was tense. Sabrina alternated between groans of pain and rapid texting, her face illuminated by the phone's blue glow. "Who are you messaging?" Axel asked, trying to keep his voice neutral. "Jasmine," Sabrina said quickly. "She's alerting the gallery staff. Had an installation scheduled for next week." Another lie. Axel had seen Jasmine and Derek boarding a flight to Los Angeles that morning for a fighting event. She'd waved to him across the terminal. They pulled into the hospital parking lot. Sabrina's demeanor changed suddenly, her pain seeming to subside as she spotted someone through the windshield. Axel followed her gaze to a familiar figure sprinting toward the emergency entrance. Tristan. Perfect timing. Sabrina whispered, then caught herself. "What did you say?" Her face contorted into a cruel smile he'd never seen before. "I said perfect timing. You can go now." Sabrina. "What?" "Thanks for the ride, idiot." She threw open the car door. "Now the real father can be there." The words hit Axel like physical blows. Sabrina was already running toward the entrance, toward Tristan. Her pregnancy waddle was completely gone. They embraced at the hospital doors, Tristan's hands protectively covering her belly, their baby. Axel sat frozen in the driver's seat, watching the scene unfold like a nightmare. Jasmine appeared from somewhere, her smirk visible even at this distance. She'd never left for Los Angeles, another piece of their elaborate deception. His phone buzzed. A message from Sabrina. "Tristan and I never stopped loving each other. You were just a safe option while we got our lives together. Thanks for the stability, though." Another message followed, this one from Tristan. "She was always mine. We needed someone with resources, respect in the community. You were perfect, so desperate for family, you never saw what was right in front of you." Axel's hand tightened on the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. The past 2 years played through his mind. Every strange moment, hidden phone call, unexplained absence, now painfully clear. Jasmine sauntered over to his car window. You should have seen them together at the gallery after hours. The passion, the planning. We arranged everything. Late-night meetings, secret photo shoots. They needed time to get their finances in order, build their reputations. You provided such a perfect cover. Derek knew. Axel's voice was barely recognizable. Of course he knew. Why do you think he couldn't look you in the eye? He wanted to tell you so many times, but she shrugged. Business is business. Tristan's fights bring in good money. Axel's phone kept buzzing. Messages from mutual friends who'd been in on the deception, each one revealing another layer of betrayal. The fighting community had known. The art world had known. He'd been the only one blind to it. Sabrina's final message was a photo, her and Tristan kissing in her studio, dated the day before their wedding. The caption read, "Always his. Thanks for paying for the perfect wedding, though." The photos were amazing. The hospital doors closed behind them, leaving Axel alone in the parking lot with the shattered pieces of his life. The baby bag sat in the back seat, packed with such care and hope. Inside were tiny clothes he'd bought, a stuffed animal he'd chosen, all for a child that was never his. More messages arrived through the night, Sabrina demanding he maintain her lifestyle until she and Tristan were settled. Tristan threatening to end him if he caused problems with the pregnancy. Jasmine detailing how they'd used Axel's connections and resources to build their secret life. Their perfect plan, using him as a respectable cover while they prepared for their real life together, had worked flawlessly, until now. But in their moment of triumph, they couldn't resist twisting the knife, showing him exactly how thoroughly he'd been deceived. Security cameras would show Axel sitting in that parking lot until dawn, utterly still, as his world collapsed around him. When he finally drove away, he left behind more than just the baby bag. He left behind his trust, his hope, and the man he'd been. The man who believed in love and family and brotherhood. They'd wanted him to break. Instead, He went silent. The kind of silence that comes before a storm, before vengeance, before justice. But that would be another story for another time. For now, in that endless night, Axel Donovan sat alone with his pain, planning, remembering, surviving, just as he'd always done. The mountain cabin stood isolated among pine trees, its weathered walls holding decades of secrets. Axel sat motionless on the porch steps, his phone lying dead beside him. He hadn't charged it since that night at the hospital 2 weeks ago. A vehicle approached on the gravel road, the first visitor since Axel had arrived. The black SUV parked next to his motorcycle, and a tall man stepped out, his bearing military despite civilian clothes. "Thought I might find you here," Leon Cross said, climbing the steps. "Your security company called me when you went off-grid." Axel didn't respond. Leon disappeared inside the cabin, returning with 2 cups of coffee. "Drink," he ordered. "Then we talk." They sat in silence until Axel's cup was empty. Leon had trained him years ago, when Axel was a broken teenager looking for direction. The man had become more than a mentor. He'd shown Axel how to transform pain into power. "Tell me," Leon said simply. Axel's voice was raw from disuse. "My wife, my best friend. They used me, built their life with my money, my connections, made me a joke." Leon nodded. "And now? I want to destroy them." "No," Leon's voice cut like steel. "That's not what you want. Destruction is easy, amateur. You want justice. That takes strategy." A new voice joined them. "And strategy is where I come in." A woman emerged from the SUV, lean, sharp-featured, with calculating eyes. Leon made the introduction. "Axel Donovan, meet Celeste Reed, former psychological operations specialist. She owes me a favor." "Several favors," Celeste corrected, studying Axel. "Leon saved my life in Belgrade. Now tell me about your wife and friend, their weaknesses, their dreams, their fears." Over the next days, they planned. Axel detailed everything. Sabrina's terror of returning to small-town obscurity, her desperate need for artistic recognition. Tristan's pride in his undefeated record, his ambition to open his own gym. "Their strength is their bond," Celeste noted. "But it's also their weakness. They betrayed you together. They'll fall together." Leon brought out maps, documents, files. "Your security company gives you resources. Your fighting background gives you influence. We use both." The plan took shape, not revenge, but justice. Not destruction, but dismantling. "Your first move needs to be unexpected," Celeste advised. "Something that shows strength while making them vulnerable." Axel thought of their house, the home he built for Sabrina, filled with her art and secrets. "I know what to do." The women's shelter director couldn't believe the offer. "The entire house. As a donation. With one condition," Axel specified. "The darkroom studio remains sealed for now. The media love the story. Local business owner donates luxury home to charity following separation." Sabrina's panicked calls began within hours. "My darkroom, my private work. You can't do this." Axel let them ring unanswered. He could picture her desperation. Love letters hidden in equipment cases, secret photos with Tristan tucked behind developing trays, her most precious memories locked away just out of reach. At Nova Security, Axel implemented the next phase. He gathered his top trainers, fighters he personally mentored. "I need you to study these videos," he told them, playing footage of Tristan's fights. "Learn his patterns, his tells, his weaknesses. Each of you will train someone specifically to beat him." "Why not fight him yourself?" Bryce, his senior instructor, asked. "Because this isn't about me. It's about justice." Celeste's expertise proved invaluable. She understood the psychology of pressure points, how to exploit insecurities. "Sabrina fears irrelevance more than anything," she observed, reviewing the photographer's social media. "She built her reputation on capturing raw emotion, authentic moments. What happens when people question that authenticity? Axel remembered Sabrina's obsession with her artistic credibility. She'll unravel. Exactly. And Tristan's fighting career is built on his undefeated record. Take that away, and you take away his future. The plan accelerated. Axel's fighters began appearing at underground matches, challenging Tristan's dominance. Each one trained specifically to exploit the flaws Axel had observed during their years of friendship. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the art community. Questions about Sabrina's work, her integrity, her authenticity. Carefully planted doubts that grew like poison vines. Leon watched Axel's transformation with approval. You're thinking clearly now. Strategic. I learned from the best. Celeste joined them. Laptop open. Sabrina's latest show just got canceled. Apparently, the gallery owner heard rumors about her complicated personal situation and decided to avoid controversy. How did she take it? According to my sources, she threw a tantrum, accused Tristan of not supporting her career enough. Their perfect plan is showing cracks. Axel nodded. The pieces were moving. Justice was patient, but it was coming. The art gallery opening buzzed with whispered conversations. Sabrina's name rippled through the crowd, accompanied by sidelong glances and knowing smirks. Did you hear? Her whole series on loyalty. While she was betraying her husband, can we trust any of her work? Jasmine observed the gossip spreading with growing unease. Her own reputation was tangled with Sabrina's now. The special meetings she'd arranged, the lies she'd told. It was all coming back to haunt her. She found Sabrina in the bathroom, reapplying mascara with shaking hands. They're talking about me, Sabrina said. About my work. How did they find out? Jasmine couldn't meet her eyes in the mirror. News travels. The art world loves scandal. Fix it. You're supposed to be handling my career. It's not that simple anymore. Collectors are nervous, questioning everything. Your authenticity, your vision. Sabrina gripped the sink. I need this show to work. Tristan's fights aren't bringing in enough money since. She didn't finish. Tristan's recent losses had shocked the fighting community. 3 matches, 3 defeats, each opponent seemingly designed to exploit his weaknesses. Across town, Tristan faced another challenger. The young fighter moved like a mirror image of him, anticipating each combination, finding holes in his defense that no one should have known existed. In his corner, Derek Logan watched with growing concern. Something's wrong, kid. These new guys, it's like they know your playbook. Tristan spat blood into a bucket. Axel has to be. He's behind this. Maybe, but he's not throwing the punches. You're getting sloppy, distracted. The truth hung unspoken between them. Tristan's focus was split between fighting, Sabrina's increasingly desperate needs, and the weight of their choices. The referee called time. Tristan rose, trying to shake off his doubts. His opponent smiled. Young, hungry, trained to break him. The ending came faster than anyone expected. A combination Tristan had used countless times was turned against him, his own momentum used to put him down. The crowd's reaction told the story. Another loss, another crack in his reputation. Later that night, Derek sat alone in his office, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The guilt he carried since the hospital night had become unbearable. Axel found him there, letting himself in without knocking. How long did you know? Axel asked quietly. Derek couldn't look at him. From the start. They approached me before your wedding. Needed someone to arrange their meetings, warn them if you got suspicious. And you agreed. Tristan was my best fighter. Sabrina, she has a way of making you believe in her dreams. Derek pulled out his phone, unlocking it with trembling fingers. Here, everything. Their messages, their plans. They chose you because you were stable, successful, the perfect cover while they built their escape fund. Axel took the phone, his face expressionless. Why tell me now? Because this isn't what I signed up for. They're not who I thought they were. Sabrina's been manipulating Tristan as much as anyone else, and he's too blind to see it. The evidence was damning. Messages spanning years, plotting each step of their deception. Sabrina's calculated moves, using both men for her own purposes. Tristan's growing obsession, mistaking manipulation for love. Axel pocketed the phone. "Thank you, Tarek. What are you going to do?" "Let justice take its course." The pregnancy complications caught everyone by surprise. Sabrina's doctor ordered bed rest, but the stress was mounting. Tristan's fighting career was imploding, her art sales had dried up, and their careful plans were unraveling. "We need money," Sabrina demanded during another hospital visit. "The medical bills." "I'm trying," Tristan snapped. "But these new fighters, they're different. It's like they know me better than I know myself. Try harder." This was supposed to be our perfect life. The cracks in their relationship widened. Tristan started missing appointments, making excuses about training. Sabrina's phone showed notifications from other men, younger fighters seeking her artistic attention. Axel watched it all through the network Celeste's intelligence provided, through Leon's strategies, through his own fighters systematically dismantling the life Sabrina and Tristan had stolen from him. "Their foundation is crumbling," Celeste reported during a strategy session. "Sabrina's insecurities are surfacing. She's reaching out to other potential supporters, not trusting Tristan anymore. And Tristan, spending time with that new female fighter at Southside Gym, the one you said would appeal to his type." Axel nodded. The pieces were falling exactly where they should. Their bond was built on betrayal. Now they were learning the price of that choice. A hospital corridor buzzed with urgent activity. Sabrina's pregnancy complications had reached a critical point, requiring specialized care they couldn't afford. "What do you mean our insurance is denied?" Tristan demanded at the billing desk. The clerk checked her screen again. "Sir, according to our records, the policy lapsed due to non-payment 3 weeks ago." Sabrina's sobs echoed from the hospital room. Their perfect plan was crumbling under the weight of reality. Tristan's fighting purses had dwindled to nothing, his reputation in tatters after 6 straight losses. Sabrina's art career had stalled completely. Galleries wouldn't return her calls. A nurse approached with paperwork. "Someone has arranged to cover all medical expenses through a private foundation." The paperwork just came through. "What foundation?" Sabrina asked. "The donor wishes to remain anonymous." The charity burned worse than any revenge. Their pride, already wounded, now had to survive on unknown mercy. Later that night, Tristan faced his biggest fight yet. The arena was packed. People came to see if the former undefeated champion could save his career. His opponent was different from the others. Young, disciplined, with a fighting style that seemed designed specifically to counter Tristan's every move. Unknown to Tristan, this was Axel's masterpiece, his most dedicated student, trained for months for this moment. The fight was brutal. Tristan's desperation made him sloppy, each mistake punished, each pattern exploited. By the 3rd round, blood streaked his face as his dreams of redemption slipped away. In his corner, Derek Logan saw the end coming. "Throw in the towel, kid. Live to fight another day." "I can't. Sabrina needs this win. We need the money." But his body betrayed him, a perfectly timed combination. One Tristan himself had taught Axel years ago, put him down for the count. The crowd's reaction told the story. Another loss, another crack in his reputation. Promoters stopped calling, sponsors pulled out. His dream of opening his own gym evaporated as investors backed away, whispering about damaged goods and compromised integrity. Sabrina watched it all from her hospital bed, her art career in similar ruins. Her phone buzzed with a message, screenshots of conversations between Tristan and a young gallery intern, full of flirtation and promises. "How could you?" She confronted him during his next visit. "After everything we've sacrificed." "Sacrificed?" Tristan laughed bitterly. "You mean what we stole? What we destroyed? Axel was my brother, Sabrina, my best friend, and we used him like he was nothing. Don't act innocent. You wanted this as much as I did." "Did I? Or did you play me just like you played him? The truth hung between them, their perfect love story built on lies, finally facing reality's harsh light. Axel received regular updates on their disintegration. Celeste's network kept him informed of each new crack in their facade. Sabrina found Tristan's messages to the intern, she reported. Meanwhile, someone anonymously submitted her private pregnancy photos to that gallery show about infidelity. Jasmine, Axel guessed. She's seeking redemption. Guilt's a powerful motivator. The photos caused a sensation in the art world. Sabrina's secret documentation of her own betrayal displayed for all to see. Her artistic reputation, already damaged, was shattered completely. Derek's phone had provided the final pieces of evidence. Messages spanning years showed how Sabrina and Tristan had planned everything, choosing Axel for his stability and success, using his resources while building their escape plan. The truth is its own weapon, Leon observed as they reviewed their progress. You didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves. Axel nodded. Justice had worked exactly as planned. Sabrina and Tristan's perfect dream had crumbled under the weight of reality, consequences, and their own choices. Their threats from that hospital night seemed distant now. Sabrina couldn't demand he maintain her lifestyle when her own actions had destroyed it. And Tristan's warning to end Axel if he caused problems had proven empty. He'd ended himself through his own decisions. The foundation paying for the baby's medical care remained anonymous. Let them live with that mystery, debt to an unknown benefactor. It was a reminder that mercy could cut deeper than revenge. Sabrina adjusted her dress in the gallery mirror, practicing her speech for the upcoming show. Childhood Bonds was supposed to be her triumphant return to the art world, a series exploring lifelong connections and unwavering loyalty. 5 minutes until doors open. Jasmine called out, her voice tight with tension. The gallery walls displayed Sabrina's carefully curated images, photographs spanning decades, from small-town childhood moments to recent artistic studies. Each one featured Tristan prominently, their supposed eternal bond captured in silver and light. Something's wrong, Sabrina muttered, checking her phone again. Tristan should have arrived an hour ago for the preview. Jasmine watched her former friend with a mixture of guilt and satisfaction. Across the street, in a rival gallery she'd secretly helped arrange, a very different exhibition was about to launch. The first guests began arriving, critics, collectors, the usual art crowd. Sabrina played her part perfectly, discussing technique and emotional resonance, never noticing Jasmine slipping away. Ladies and gentlemen, Sabrina addressed the gathering. Tonight's exhibition explores the unbreakable bonds that shape our lives. Her voice trailed off as she noticed people drifting toward the windows, pointing at the gallery across the street. Its lights had just blazed on, revealing wall-sized photographs, visible even from here. Sabrina's blood ran cold. The images were familiar because she was in them. Secret moments she thought no one had captured, her and Tristan during their affair, planning their deception, using Axel's trust for their own ends. What is this? She demanded. But Jasmine had vanished. The rival exhibition, titled Truth and Shadows, featured surveillance photos taken over years. Jasmine's revenge for being made complicit in their betrayal, complete and devastating. Guests began leaving, smartphones raised to capture both galleries' displays. Sabrina's carefully constructed narrative crumbled as the real story spread through social media. Tristan finally arrived, but not to support her. He burst in clutching papers from the fighting commission. "My license is suspended," he shouted. "Anonymous tips about taking dives. All my potential investors for the gym pulled out." Sabrina barely heard him. She was staring at the next set of photos lighting up across the street, images she herself had taken, documenting their betrayal almost compulsively. Jasmine had found her secret digital archive. "How did they get those?" Tristan demanded. "Those were in your private storage." "Jasmine," Sabrina whispered. "She helped me back up my work last month." The exhibition across the street had a third act. Jasmine herself appeared, inaugurating a multimedia installation called Beautiful Lies. It featured not just photos, but texts, emails, and recordings documenting years of manipulation. Sabrina's phone buzzed with a medical alert. The baby's genetic condition was requiring new specialists, but that wasn't what made her sink to her knees. The latest test results were attached. "Tristan," she choked out. "The baby. The DNA test." He grabbed the phone, face draining of color as he read. Science had revealed one final devastating truth. He wasn't the father either. The gallery erupted in chaos. Art world influencers live-streamed the unfolding drama. Sabrina's photographs of loyalty and lasting bonds now seemed like a sick joke. Axel's students arrived in groups, filling the space in their Nova security shirts. They didn't say anything. They didn't have to. Their presence forced Tristan to confront everything he'd lost. "You can't fight anymore," Sabrina accused. "You can't support us. What happened to our perfect plan?" "Perfect plan?" Tristan laughed bitterly. "Look around. We destroyed ourselves." Axel didn't have to do anything except let the truth come out. The truth was still unfolding. Jasmine's installation revealed more with each passing minute. The calculated way they'd chosen Axel, the exploitation of his trust, the cruel efficiency with which they'd used his resources while building their escape fund. Sabrina tried damage control, claiming artistic license and metaphorical truth. The art world wasn't buying it. Years of carefully cultivated relationships dissolved as critics and collectors distanced themselves from her toxic narrative. "My career is over," she whispered. "Our whole life is over," Tristan corrected. "And we did this to ourselves." Outside, Axel's fighting academy had become the dominant force in local martial arts. His students competed with honor and integrity, everything Tristan had sacrificed for a lie. The night ended with Sabrina alone in her failed exhibition, surrounded by images of loyalty that now accused rather than celebrated. Across the street, the truth played on in an endless loop. Her own documentation of betrayal turned against her. The art world had its scandal of the year, the fighting community its cautionary tale, and somewhere in the city, Axel Donovan continued building something genuine from the ashes of their deception. The evidence spread through the art world like poison. Sabrina's former subjects came forward, sharing stories of how she'd manipulated situations to capture her authentic moments. She engineered arguments between couples for her Love in Crisis series. One subject revealed to a prominent art blog. She created real conflicts just to photograph the aftermath. Another exhibition turned against her. "She told my wife I was cheating to get pictures of genuine pain," said one subject. "For her infidelity project, we divorced before learning the truth." Sabrina's phone filled with cancellations. Galleries pulled her work. Collectors demanded refunds. Universities rescinded speaking invitations. Her reputation for capturing truth became a reputation for manufacturing lies. In his apartment, Tristan found Sabrina's journal hidden inside an old photo album. The pages revealed a calculated mind at work. Axel is perfect, successful, trusting, isolated enough to need family. His resources can fund our real future while Tristan's fighting career grows. Tristan's childhood devotion makes him easy to direct. 2 men, 2 purposes, 1 goal. The journal entries turned darker as the pregnancy progressed. Tristan's becoming unstable, too possessive. Might need a backup plan. Axel's money is secure now, but Tristan's fighting career could provide long-term stability. Need to keep both options open. The final entries destroyed any illusions Tristan still held. Meaningless sex with Derek was a mistake but might prove useful. Tristan's ego makes him believe the baby is his. Axel's too trusting to question it. 3 men serving my needs, none seeing the whole picture. Tristan hurled the journal across the room. Their childhood bond, their supposed eternal love, all manipulations by a master deceiver. The baby's paternity revelation shattered their remaining social circle. Derek Logan, the actual father, faced his own reckoning as the truth emerged. "I was drunk," he told Jasmine. Sabrina said she needed comfort, that Tristan was neglecting her. Never told me she was already sleeping with both of them. Jasmine's revenge expanded beyond exposing Sabrina's lies. She systematically contacted everyone Sabrina had ever photographed, encouraging them to share their stories. A pattern emerged. Sabrina hadn't just documented betrayal. She'd orchestrated it. Her camera captured genuine pain because she engineered genuine destruction. Axel's combat school flourished during the fallout. His training philosophy emphasized honor, integrity, and genuine achievement. Each class stood as an accusation against everything Tristan had sacrificed. Tristan watched through the gym's windows as former friends and training partners worked out. They'd chosen sides, chosen truth, chosen to stand with the man he'd betrayed. Sabrina's desperate attempt to reclaim her past failed spectacularly. She returned to her small hometown, hoping to reconnect with old supporters. Instead, she found her childhood home had become a monument to consequences. Former neighbors shared stories of her manipulations stretching back to youth. She told each of us different versions of her parents' divorce. One old high school friend revealed, "Played us against each other for attention. Should have seen this coming." The town's Facebook group filled with revelations. Teenage Sabrina orchestrating conflicts, documenting drama she created, using others' pain for her art. "Remember when she told your boyfriend you were cheating?" One former friend wrote to another. "Got great photos of the breakup, though." Sabrina fled back to the city, but found no refuge there. Her artistic reputation was toxic, her presence unwelcome in galleries that had once celebrated her work. The invitation arrived on expensive paper. Sabrina Hayes presents Redemption, a journey through truth and reconciliation. Axel held the card, reading the desperate bid for resurrection. The gallery was smaller than Sabrina's usual venues, the timing late afternoon instead of prime evening hours. "Are you going?" Celeste asked, watching his expression. "Yes," he said simply. "Time to end this." The exhibition space was half empty. Sabrina had lost weight, her clothes replaced by simpler attire. She flinched when Axel entered but forced herself to approach. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I wasn't sure. I'm not here for you." The photographs on display showed a different Sabrina, humbled, searching for meaning in her downfall. But even these images felt calculated, designed to evoke sympathy. Tristan arrived separately, looking older than his years. His fighting career was over, his dream of opening a gym shattered by revelations of compromised integrity. "Axel," he started. "Brother, we're not brothers. I know. I betrayed everything." Tristan's voice cracked. "She played us both, but I let her. Chose to believe the lies because they felt better than truth." The apology came too late for forgiveness, but it offered something Axel hadn't expected: closure. Tristan's destruction was complete, but it had come from his own choices. Across the gallery, Sabrina made one final attempt to rewrite history. A documentary crew filmed her tearful confession. "I lost myself in the art of deception. Used real people, real emotions, real pain to create something false. The price was my soul." The footage would play in galleries across the city, not as redemption, but as a warning about the cost of betrayal. Through it all, Axel had maintained anonymous support for the baby, financial assistance, medical care, educational trusts. The child deserved a chance to break the cycle of lies. "The baby's doing well," Celeste mentioned later that night. "Derek's being a better father than anyone expected." "Good. She deserves that much." Their relationship had grown naturally, built on shared understanding and absolute honesty. Celeste's intelligence work had taught her the value of truth, while Axel's experience had shown him the importance of earning trust. Together, they expanded Nova Security's mission. Beyond combat training, they taught ethics and integrity. Their students learned that true strength comes from character, not deception. The story became legend in both fighting and art circles, not just the betrayal, but the way justice had come through truth rather than violence. "You could have destroyed them physically," Leon Cross remarked during a training session. chose a harder path instead. Destruction is easy. Axel quoted his mentor's earlier wisdom. Justice takes strategy. The foundation came last. Support for young fighters and artists who demonstrated integrity. Each grant recipient learned the story, understood the price of betrayal and the value of honor. Sabrina made one final attempt to contact Axel. Her letter arrived on the foundation's official stationery. You won, not by hurting us, but by being better than us. The baby will grow up knowing her father chose to help her despite everything. That's a legacy I can never match. Axel didn't respond. His legacy would speak through actions. The lives he touched, the students he taught, the principles he upheld. The betrayal that could have destroyed him had instead revealed his true strength. He had faced darkness but chosen light, transforming pain into purpose and building something genuine from the ashes of deception. In the end, that was the greatest justice of all. 10 years later, Nova Security had expanded beyond recognition. The original training facility now anchored a complex of buildings dedicated to what the media called the Morrison Method, a comprehensive approach to personal development combining physical training, ethical leadership, and psychological resilience. Axel Donovan stood in his office, watching students flow between classes. The fighting arena where he'd once trained Tristan had become just one component of a larger mission. The walls displayed photographs, not Sabrina's artistically manipulated images, but genuine moments captured by students documenting their journeys. The Singapore branch just confirmed their opening date, Celeste said, entering with a tablet. After their marriage 7 years ago, she'd integrated her intelligence expertise into the curriculum, teaching students to recognize manipulation and value authentic relationships. How's their instructor certification going? On schedule. Liam's personally overseeing the final stages. Liam Cross, now in his 60s but still imposing, had transformed from mentor to partner. His military experience, combined with Axel's fighting background, created a training program that attracted clients from around the world. The Morrison Foundation had also flourished, supporting young artists and fighters who demonstrated exceptional integrity. Each year, they received thousands of applications, each candidate carefully screened for the qualities Axel had learned to value most: honesty, ethical behavior, and genuine dedication to their craft. Did you see this? Celeste held up her phone, showing a local news article. Tristan Mills's name caught Axel's eye. After his fighting career imploded, Tristan had hit bottom. Alcohol, failed business ventures, increasingly desperate attempts to reclaim his former glory. The article detailed his latest effort, teaching basic self-defense at a small gym in their old hometown. He's staying clean, Celeste noted, working with at-risk youth. No grand ambitions, just quiet redemption. Axel nodded. He kept tabs on his former friend through the years, not from vindictiveness, but to ensure the lesson stuck. Tristan had finally accepted his role in his own downfall, finding purpose in helping others avoid similar mistakes. Sabrina's story had taken different turns. Her attempt to rebuild her artistic career had failed spectacularly, her reputation permanently tainted by revelations about her manipulative methods. She tried reinventing herself in several cities, but the art world had a long memory. The last Axel heard, she was teaching photography at a community college on the West Coast. Her course syllabi, available online, emphasized technical skills over artistic interpretation, a telling shift from her former focus on manufacturing emotional moments. Jasmine's Beautiful Lies installation had toured internationally, becoming a case study in art ethics courses. She occasionally gave lectures about her role in the events, emphasizing personal responsibility and redemption. Derek found unexpected success in training young boxers, his own experiences with deception making him particularly adept at spotting and nurturing genuine talent. He and Jasmine maintained a cordial relationship centered around their daughter's well-being. The fighting community had evolved. The underground matches where Axel first met Sabrina still existed, but Nova Security's influence had created a culture that valued integrity over mere victory. Fighters trained in the Morrison method were known for their disciplined approach and ethical conduct. "The documentary crew is here," Celeste reminded him. A major sports network was producing a series on transformative figures in modern martial arts. Axel had initially declined to participate, but the producers convinced him that his story could help others recognize and avoid manipulation in their own lives. The interviewer set up in Axel's office, beginning with standard questions about Nova Security's success. Axel gave measured responses about training methodology and business growth, but the conversation inevitably turned personal. "Your experience with betrayal shaped this organization's emphasis on integrity," the interviewer noted. "Do you regret not seeing the signs earlier?" Axel considered his answer carefully. "Betrayal teaches you to read people, but it can also make you cynical. The challenge is learning to trust wisely rather than not trusting at all." "You've never publicly discussed Sabrina Hayes or Tristan Mills. Why break that silence now?" "Because enough time has passed for this to be about lessons rather than individuals. Their choices destroyed the life they wanted, but they also showed me the life I needed to build." The interview covered the Foundation's work, including its support for ethical artists, a detail that would certainly reach Sabrina in her new life. Axel didn't mention that he received regular updates about her situation, including her recent efforts to document her own journey of redemption. After the crew left, Axel found himself reflecting on the decade since that night in the hospital parking lot. The betrayal that could have broken him had instead focused his purpose, showing him how to transform pain into positive change. Celeste touched his arm gently. Sarah's college application arrived. The envelope was addressed to the Morrison Foundation. Sarah Logan, unknowingly seeking support from the man her parents had betrayed, had written an essay about integrity and consequences. "She's nothing like them," Celeste said, reading the application. "Top grades, volunteer work, glowing recommendations. The genetic testing center she interns at says she has a gift for uncovering truth in data." Axel smiled at the irony. The child born of deception had grown into someone dedicated to revealing truth through science. He signed the approval for a full scholarship, maintaining the anonymity that had protected her from her parents' legacy. That evening, Axel taught an advanced class combining combat techniques with ethical decision-making. The students included professional fighters, law enforcement officers, and corporate executives, all seeking something beyond physical skills. "Strength without character is dangerous," he told them, echoing Leon's lessons from years ago. "Trust without wisdom is vulnerable. The key is building both." Later, reviewing security footage from Nova facilities worldwide, Axel saw his principles taking root across cultures. Each training center emphasized the same core values, creating a network of individuals committed to integrity. The Morrison Foundation's annual gala brought together recipients from various fields, young fighters who competed with honor, artists who documented truth rather than manufacturing drama. Each success story validated Axel's belief that integrity could be taught and cultivated. Leon Cross attended these events as a proud father figure, watching his protege build something unprecedented in both the fighting and business worlds. His military contacts had expanded Nova Security's influence into specialized training for elite units, emphasizing ethical decision-making under pressure. The gala's keynote speaker was a former Foundation recipient who'd become a respected sports psychologist. Her research on integrity in athletics cited the Morrison case study, without naming names, as a turning point in how the fighting community viewed character development. A week later, Axel received an unexpected letter. Tristan had written from the small gym where he now worked, not asking forgiveness, but sharing his own journey toward redemption. "Working with these kids, I see myself at that age. Talented but unfocused, looking for shortcuts. Teaching them about consequences isn't easy, but it matters. You showed me that." Axel filed the letter with others he'd received over the years, from Sabrina, from Jasmine, from various participants in their shared drama, each documenting a different path toward understanding the true cost of betrayal. Sarah Logan's story particularly interested the documentary makers, though they respected Axel's insistence on protecting her privacy. Her academic papers on genetic testing ethics suggested she'd inherited her mother's intelligence, but channeled it toward uncovering truth rather than crafting deceptions. The fighting world had its own legends about Axel Donovan, the undefeated trainer whose students competed with unprecedented integrity. Some claimed he could spot a dishonest fighter just by watching their practice sessions. Others whispered about the notorious betrayal that had shaped his philosophy. Sabrina's community college students sometimes found her old photographs online, not realizing their technical skills instructor had once been a rising star in the art world. She never discussed her past work, focusing instead on teaching fundamentals and professional ethics. The art world had developed new authentication protocols partly inspired by the Sabrina Hayes scandal. Galleries now required extensive documentation of the artistic process, protecting both artists and subjects from manipulation. Jasmine's Beautiful Lies installation had toured internationally, becoming a case study in art ethics courses. She occasionally gave lectures about her role in the events, emphasizing personal responsibility and redemption. Axel and Celeste's marriage proved that trust could be rebuilt after betrayal. Their relationship, founded on complete honesty and shared values, stood as a counterpoint to the deception that had shaped their paths. The Morrison Method's success attracted attention from psychiatrists and researchers studying resilience and ethical development. Academic papers analyzed how the program transformed trauma into strength, betrayal into wisdom. 10 years had transformed a personal tragedy into a movement. Nova Security graduates worked in law enforcement, military special operations, corporate security, and professional athletics, each carrying forward Axel's emphasis on integrity as the foundation of true strength. The Foundation's work extended beyond individual grants, funding research into character development and ethical decision-making. Universities partnered with Nova Security to study how physical training could reinforce moral choices. Sarah Logan's generation knew nothing of the scandal surrounding her birth. To them, the Morrison Foundation represented excellence and integrity. Some of her classmates trained at Nova Security facilities, never suspecting their connection to her history. Axel's office contained one photograph from his previous life, the last image Sabrina had captured of him training Tristan. He kept it as a reminder that trust given unwisely could be devastating, but trust withheld entirely prevented growth. The documentary aired internationally, prompting discussions about integrity in sports and business. Viewers recognized universal themes in Axel's story: betrayal, resilience, and the choice to build rather than destroy. The conclusion to Axel Donovan's story wasn't about revenge or destruction. It was about transformation. Pain into purpose, betrayal into wisdom, and personal tragedy into global impact. The legacy lived in Sarah Logan's dedication to scientific truth, in Tristan Mills's quiet work with troubled youth, and in Sabrina Hayes's focus on technical reality over artistic manipulation. It lived in each Nova Security graduate who chose integrity over expedience, in each Foundation recipient who transformed their field through ethical leadership. 10 years had proven that the greatest victory came not from destroying those who betrayed you, but from building something they could never taint. Axel Donovan's response to betrayal had created ripples that continued to spread, touching lives far beyond the original drama. In the end, that was the real story, not the betrayal that began it, but the truth that emerged. Strength built on integrity would always outlast deception.